So I have here a swarming honeybee colony, and I thought maybe maybe I could find the queen. Should be smaller and than she normally is, because they make her a little skinnier. They stop feeding the queen like 2 or 3 days before swarming, so she gets leaner, she gets smaller. Once she lays those queen cells, they start leaning her up. So the chances of me finding her, slim. I was kind of taking the day off from working. So I don't know. I don't have anything to say. Friend was saying that beekeepers live the longest, and it's because of the vibration. And I didn't really understand what he meant at first. And so I tried to like tune into him. Like, what does he mean by vibrations? And then he went on to explain to me that it's like the force field of energy we put out as little space vehicles, consciousness, and a space rock. That's also a battery, or just with a force field. And I think I know what he meant. I'm introducing myself in a way, and I want to hive this swarm. I'll work these bees later, but there's a stillness when you realize that they communicate with such minute vibrations to one another. You have to slow down to their vibration. And us being bigger, it's harder. There's often the honeybee colonies used as like a signal and organization. Like the Bergenfield Municipal seal is a beehive. It has a beehive in it. And it's to signify some kind of industry. But in a way, it should also signify that they were working together to do something, industry. In I believe it's Lawrence and Page, a breeding book. They chose what they call industry as a thing that they would choose for. Selecting characteristics for which they were trying to improve. They were trying to improve their industry. And they measured it in weighing the hives for this day and coming back like 24 hours. How much did it go up? I think with modern technology, we wouldn't have to do that. Because of like scales that can be put on, and like all the supers, all the supers are way different. So when you put them on, you really don't know, like 1 super, 3 supers, how much honey really came out of it. But you can do that now. You can just have a scale, and then once it goes within a second, you can take that bop, that increase up. So if we had a spreadsheet of every day's weight, and then you would simply void any day that increased by 15 pounds, because that's obviously a day that a box was added. You would be correcting for the box. You would have at least one day off, missed off the data, but everybody gets a day off from the data. So it's fine. You don't need hourly, you need daily, and a way to analyze it. Let me try to get that back better. So there's this company called Broodminder that makes scales, that with Wi-Fi connection, you could get almost an hourly report to the weight of your hive, which would have helped in this situation, because I thought that this box was lighter than it was, and they put on a lot of weight a little bit more quickly than I thought and I anticipated. And it's also, this was the last hive, I just didn't get to it yet. It was kind of behind the curve in the management of this year. So the bees looked really strong this year, and just we didn't have a spring that knocked them back the way that it has in years prior. It wasn't cold, it was just cloudy, unforageable. So yeah, they weren't bringing in a lot of honey, but they were still building up on the reserves that they had last spring. And the hives that were gonna starve, well, what I did was I pulled out a nuke from those hives and gave it a frame of honey, and then that nuke I fed a little syrup, because this nuke isn't going to make any honey. It's nowhere near making any honey, and I want all the calories from sugar water to be very, very far from the boxes from which I harvest honey, a honey super. And then my production colonies had a frame of honey that I gave them, so they weren't starving either, and that got them through the cloudy week that we had early this spring. The hives that I didn't get around to doing that to suffered from starvation issues. I wonder if the flowers are gonna hold off, and they didn't miss out on some certain pollination requirements for themselves. Dandelion closes in the mort every day and then opens up in the sun, and they seem to bloom a little longer this year, and it seemed like they closed up shop when they were completely pollinated, whereas some tree species just die. Do they? I don't know. What happens with other plants that don't get sufficiently pollinated? Do they stay around? Imagine so. But the bees worked dandelion really well this season. In Sussex County, it was a little less cloudy in the afternoons, and so there would be like 2 or 3 hours in the spring they would just go on those build up nectar sources. It was almost as if, like, if you looked at them in the morning, they would look different. Because, they would look different, and I said, well, like how? I was trying to figure out how to word that. And it'd be in their attitude. They're a little hungry. They're on very low reserves, and so some are not fed. Some of the individuals are working on like keto. People might say like, oh yeah, dude, you're just like covering yourself in bees for the video. It's like, I'm putting a video here just because, well, I want to sell honey. I keep these bees, and I want to show more people how to keep bees. And it's the jar of honey that people buy, the sampler packs that I sell on my website, that pay the bills, you know, and you gotta pay the bills. But I would be doing this anyway. If I could sell enough honey and not have to make a video, I wouldn't. But I would still be hanging out on a Monday morning playing with the swarm. Because I took a day off. If it was a work day, I might not be here, per se. And I would be here doing this. Ooh, I did get some. I wonder if it's gonna take off. I'm finding my brain go to the camera, and I want to be with them. So I'm gonna turn this off and make that the end of the video.